Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Alexandra Alegría, and I will be your host for this webinar today. We will be talking about the opportunities of plant-based foods in Latin America. In this webinar, Christine Lopez, Business Development Manager of Innova Market Insight, will highlight the key drivers surrounding plant-based products, including essential benefits and trends in the Latin American market. This webinar is sponsored by Andina Pack and its ingredient sector, Andina Ingredients. Organized by Colombian and Corferias in Bogota, Colombia, its 16th edition of Andina Pack will take place November 9th to the 12th. Andina Pack is the most important trade show in Latin America, focused on the production, processing, packaging, and handling technologies of the food and beverage as well as pharmaceuticals industry. Its sectors included the entire value chain in the transformation of raw materials into final products in food, beverage, and pharma. Sectors include the ingredients, processing and manufacturing technology, packaging, intralogistics, and food safety. Andina Ingredients will take place in a specific area dedicated to highlight innovations and trends in this industry. It will host top brands from all over the world wanting to discover the Latin American market. Andina Pack is a sister show of Anuga Food Tech. Anuga is a leading trade show for the food and beverage industry and has become the industry's benchmark. Powered by Anuga, Andina Pack has become the leading platform in Latin America in which producers and manufacturers can find all that they need for their production process and manufacturing plants. For more information on how to participate in Andina Pack, please visit our webpage or you can contact us directly through the information we will be posting in the chat. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Christine Lopez. Christine has a master's degree in analysis of emerging markets. She has been with Innova Market Insights for almost 10 years as a business development manager for Mexico and other Latin American markets. Christine has also been involved in new product development projects, market analysis, and strategic planning with many of Innova Market customers. She has also collaborated finding market opportunities for the food and beverage products and is a frequent speaker at various regional events and congresses. We want to welcome Christine Lopez, who will be sharing with us her knowledge on plant-based foods and the expanding opportunities in Latin America. Please feel free to write your questions or submit your questions in our chat. We will be answering these questions at the end of her presentation. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you, Alexandra. So I'm going to begin. Just if you could give me the authorization to share my screen because I don't have it right now.
Yes, give it a second, we will do that.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, I think it works. We can see your presentation.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so thank you, Alexandra. Thank you, Andina Pack. It's a pleasure being here with you today. So I'm going to speak about the plant-based trend, a huge topic that many people are interested in nowadays. A lot of companies are looking for new opportunities in this space. So we're going to have a global overview of this trend, and then we'll have some specific information about the Latin American market. So just a brief summary about Innova Market Insights for those who don't know our company. We're a market research agency specialized in food and beverage. We've been on the market for more than 20 years, and also we've got a very strong presence in Latin America. So we've got interesting information from around 14 Latin American countries. And we do make this research through a network of on-site researchers. So I always prefer to explain which information you're going to see in the report, because there will be information coming from our editorial sister company, that is Food Ingredients First Packaging Insights. So there we interview industry experts. Then you're going to see information from our database about new product launches, and then also information about the consumer surveys that we carry on more than 20 countries. So each year, Innova Market Insights publishes its top trends for the year. So this has been going on for more than 20 years now. And here you can see the top trends for this year, and the trend that is the one that we're interested in today is the plant forward trend. So we're also going to speak about the evolution of this trend. We've been tracking it for some years now. It has been evolving, and it has been going diversifying and going more and more important. So this crystal ball is to tell you that these top trends that we do every year for more than 20 years now, we've got a very good assertiveness in these trends. You can see some trends that we had already planned from 2007, for instance, the rise of private label, gluten-free in 2010, and many companies take these trends to make their strategic planning every year. So we're going to see different aspects of the plant-based trend. We cannot we cannot see all of the aspects today because it's really a lot of information, but we're going to give you some insights into the most interesting trends of the plant-based trend. So we're going to make a special focus on dairy alternative drinks. That is one of the top categories of this trend, and was one where it all began. Then we're going to see that it's been diversifying into other categories. And we're going to make also a special focus on plant proteins, also a huge topic where many research is being carried on. So which are the key challenges and opportunities for plant proteins, the perception that the consumers have. So we're also going to work with the perception of the consumers today. As you know, that's an important factor within all the planning we're doing, because many times the perception of the consumer it's not the same as the real facts are, but that's what we've got to work with every year. And then we're going to see also a bit the packagings that are being used for plant-based products, so that you can also see which are the new packagings that are being developed. So to begin with this this global perspective on plant-based. As I was telling you, Innova each year launches its top trends. So from 2019 on, each year we've had the plant-based trend within our top trends with a different focus. So 2019 was where it all began, where we saw a huge increase in plant-based launches. And it was mainly in Europe and also in the US. Some brands were greening up their portfolios to attract more consumers. And for instance, in Germany, that is a huge market for meat, we were seeing a huge increase in meat substitutes and sausage substitutes. So that's where we began to speak about the flexitarian consumer that is also part of this plant-based trend, meaning that many people are trying to cut on their, for instance, meat and dairy intake. Then last year, 2020, that was also really impacted by the COVID. We saw a huge increase, and we saw that this trend was going to other markets. So we saw it coming, for instance, to Latin America in a clearer way. And the consumer was asking more and more for these products. but there was, for the first time, a question from the consumers, because there were many criticism about how these products were made and if they were really clean label. So the industry had also to take another factor into account, that was to make cleaner label products in those categories. And then this year, 2021, the plant forward trend, that is, everybody is trying to include plant-based ingredients, plant-based products in their offering, and also in-house. As consumers were cooking more and more, they were also trying to include more and more plant-based products into their recipes and their home cooking. So we're seeing higher levels of sophistication in terms of offerings. And there are also new opportunities in this market, and as always, new challenges that we have to take into account. So as I was telling you last year, well, COVID-19 impacted many food and beverage categories. So how has it affected the plant-based trend? So we saw the consumers that were more and more worried about their health and what they were eating, and also about the environment issue. So we saw an increase in people looking for instance, vegan products, plant-based products, or organic products. So we had those initiatives that grew more and more, like Veganuary, that urges consumers to make the January month vegan, and also to be vegan along the year. And then we've got also another initiative that is Monday Free Meat, that is also urging consumers to reduce their meat intake. So we saw an increase in this kind of initiatives and more conscious consumers. But it was also a time where people were looking for more comfort and satisfying foods. So sometimes, because of cultural it was more difficult to cut on this kind of product, and also because of COVID times. But we also saw that many food service companies began to get on this trend and offer, for instance, here we've got the example of Asia, limited time offerings to try this new kind of products and see how they were working in these new sites. So Starbucks also expanded its plant-based range. And we've got what I was telling you about, that people are concerned about what they're eating. They're more and more conscious. They're turning to whole foods, and they're expecting to fortify their health. And they know that through their food, they're going to do it. So they're quite sensitive to all the processing that is behind all the meat substitutes and all these kind of products. So companies have got to become more and more transparent about all these processes, ingredients that are behind the product. So we've made some consumer surveys where we've asked consumers, well, between vegetarian, vegan, and plant-based, which is the claim you prefer? And out of those three claims, people prefer plant-based. So it's interesting. That's also something that is global. Here we've got 6 in 10 consumers in LATAM that shows plant-based, but that's the same globally. And why? Because many times plant-based is easier to understand, it's easier to execute, and consumers have got a better perception of plant-based. So then we're going to look at the new product launches that we do track at Innova Market Insights. And here we can see that the plant-based claims are the ones that grew more. Obviously, we've got to take into account the base of products that was smaller, but the growth is much bigger than vegan claims of vegetarian. Vegetarian claims are quite stagnating. Vegan claims are still growing, and plant-based claims are exploding. So consumers, what they do consider a plant-based diet. So 1 in 3 LATAM consumers consider a plant-based diet to be meat and dairy reduced. So it has to do with the flexitarian consumer that I was telling you about. At the end, it doesn't mean people will cut completely on dairy or meat, but they're trying to reduce meat and dairy in their diets. So which are the reasons that would make you consider plant-based alternatives? So here are the results for LATAM. And you can see that the top reason is health, 70% of LATAM consumers. Then it brings variety to my diet, 46%. And that's interesting because with COVID and many people still working from home, consumers are looking to give variety to their diet. So plant-based alternatives also enter into this new status that we have right now, being at home. Then it's better for the planet. You can see one of the main worries of the consumers, that is the environment and the planet. So 32% of LATAM consumers, and then appealing price, 18%. So we're going to discuss this later with another survey. So we can see that it's the last one, appealing price, because in general, and mainly in Latin America, prices for those products are quite expensive. And then this other survey, it's interesting because we don't have a miracle solution. So what this question in this survey tells us about is that at the end, there's no protein source that is inherently sustainable or unsustainable for the consumers. Today's crop management systems are too unsustainable to adopt a 100% plant-based diet. And you can see the results. And so it means that everybody knows that making a 100% plant-based diet might not be the solution. Neither the meat or dairy diet is the solution. So what is happening? Plant-based is going into many categories that were not classic categories of plant-based development. Plant-based is entering many markets. So here you have some nice examples of how plant-based is expanding, for instance, into chocolate with this Kit Kat in the UK. Then you've got also in spreads and butter and alternatives, for instance, this Flora plant-based in Canada. You've got also drinks, for instance, those Nestle drinks, alternatives, and Milo. One of their iconic brands is also going dairy-free, Nescafe. And then a nice example from the LATAM region that is Notco, a Chilean company, a food tech that has been on the news lately in a lot of places, and where they've been launching very innovative products. And here we've got two examples. This one for the US market, where they're using a combination of pineapple and cabbage in this drink, and then the nut mayo, also a dressing that would make the appearance of a mayonnaise, but that is not a mayo, and a very interesting also branding for this company. So this one is for Argentina. So now let's look at Latin America. How is this trend evolving in new product launches in Latin America? So you can see the growth on the left vertical side, and then you can see the percentage share of new product launches on the horizontal side. So here you can see that Brazil is the top market for new product launches, and it's also growing a lot because the CAGR is around 70%. Mm-hmm. And the size of the bubble refers to the number of new product launches. So you can see that Brazil is the first market in the region. Then comes Mexico. And then you've got the rest of the countries that are also still small countries in terms of new product launches, but that are growing a lot. You can see here the CAGRs. Ecuador, for instance, 60%, El Salvador, 50%. So which are the top categories in the region in Latin America for plant-based? First, dairy alternative drinks, That was the first one, and that is the most common. Then meat substitutes, non-dairy ice cream, that is a category that has been growing a lot in those last years. And then some categories maybe that we wouldn't think about, like chocolate blocks. Then spoonable non-dairy yogurt, cheese non-dairy. Here, some examples of some interesting brands in the region. Some brands, for instance, that are working with local ingredients, for instance, are best in Mexico with amaranth. This is a dairy alternative drink. For instance, this company in Guatemala that is offering this almond dairy, non-dairy yogurt. This cheese in Ecuador that is non-cheese, mozzarella. Some burger patties with lentils and vegetables. This plant-based cream, that's a recent category, plant-based creams. So here you've got one from Chile, and this is from Mexico, also veggie bites, also with mung beans, and also a local ingredient that is amaranth. So it's also interesting to see how companies are taking advantage of local ingredients to make these plant-based offerings. So which are the newly emerged categories? Chocolate blocks, sports bar, non-dairy ice cream and frozen yogurt, and cheese non-dairy. Then I also have to say that some categories were already plant-based before, but the products didn't mention it. So sometimes, you know, what iced water lollipops, they were plant-based, obviously, but the manufacturers didn't mention it, and now they're beginning to mention it. So it's a bit what happened with, for instance, the gluten-free products. Some products were already gluten-free, but then as this trend began to grow and consumers were sensitive to this claim, well, manufacturers began to tell about the gluten-free aspect of their products. So here you've got some nice examples in meat substitutes. That's something more recent in LATAM. So here some meatballs that are plant-based. Or here also we can see that the food service sector is also adopting these trends in LATAM. So here in Chile, you've got this King Rodeo BBQ with the Notco meat from Burger King. So now we are going to make a special focus on dairy alternative drinks. That is a classic category of plant-based offering. So here you can see first that still the top companies for dairy alternative drinks in Latin America are the big companies like Danone, Coca-Cola, then Blue Diamond Growers, Terra Fertil that belongs to Nestle, that was a Latin American company that Nestle bought some years ago, and then Café Soluble, that has a brand Delisoy that is from Central America. And then we can see that 35% of share of these companies in dairy alternative drinks launches in 2020 were tracked in Latin America. So it means we're in a very competitive market. And here an example of a silk product from Nicaragua. So we've got this chart that I like a lot because we just compare new product development growth, meaning new product launches, with the sales value growth of the markets. So here you've got a big opportunity for those markets because they've got a lot of innovation and they've got markets that are growing from the value, the sales value point of view. So you've got Costa Rica, Peru, and Argentina. Then low innovation, but high value growth, you've got Brazil, Ecuador, Colombia, Mexico, and Chile. So here are some of the factors that are making consumers move towards those non-dairy options. Dairy allergies, veganism, healthier lifestyles. Also sometimes the immune trend that has been growing a lot with COVID last year. There are also a lot of plant-based products that are entering this trend with immune claims. So that's also an interesting aspect of these products. And also the boom in e-commerce, it allowed many companies to sell online, also in Latin America, and offer those new innovative products. So now, which are the top claims for those dairy alternative drinks? You can see here for the top 5 markets of the regions. which are the top claims. Here we can see gluten-free in Brazil, but as Brazil has got a regulatory obligation about gluten-free products, we would also see lactose-free as one of the top ones and low, no reduced cholesterol as the other one. And then we can see that in the other countries of the region, we've got the lactose-free claim leading these claims. Here, we've got other claims that could be interesting to offer to consumers in the next month, like, for instance, in Brazil, no added sugar, source of protein, or vegan, or in Colombia, vegan, organic, no added sugar. So those ones are the top ones, and those ones are the ones that could grow in the next month. So now, which flavors do have those dairy alternative drinks? So classic flavors, you can see vanilla, milk chocolate, cocoa, strawberry, red apple. But then we've got also other flavors that are growing in popularity, like banana, naranja, that is a flavor that is from Colombia, Ecuador, pineapple, and red grape. So also the fruit flavors, we can see them growing apart from the classic flavors like vanilla and cocoa and milk chocolate. So here we've got it by top country also. So here we can see that Mexico, Guatemala, Colombia, and Ecuador, they've got vanilla as their top flavor, then milk chocolate, and Brazil is milk chocolate first, and then strawberry, and some other flavors that could also grow in the next month. So there is also innovation in flavors, and here we can see some nice examples of Nature's Heart, this brand that belongs to Nestle. And they've launched just now in August in Mexico this new range of dairy alternative drinks with some trending flavors. So turmeric and ginger for the first one. So that's also interesting to see how trends connect. We can see flavor trends connecting with this plant-based trend and offering more innovative products to the consumer. So we've got this golden latte, that is also this golden drink that has been growing in new product launches this last years, that is from Asia. Then you can see the cacao latte with maca and cacao, cocoa. That is also interesting because maca is also an ingredient of the region, of the Latin American region. And then a matcha latte green tea. So just a brief summary, we can see that Danone is the leader in the region. Brazil is the country that is growing the most, and that Latin America at a global level ranks third for dairy alternative drinks launches in 2020. That's a very competitive market, interesting market. New fruity flavors are arising apart from the classic flavors, and that the top claims are vegan, natural, high source of protein, and no added sugar claims, and we can see them growing in the next month. So now we're going to have a look at plant proteins. That's a really, really interesting topic because there's a lot of research being done in plant protein, recovering proteins that already existed, taking proteins from products that are already on the market, but that were not taken for this objective. So here you can see the growth of plant protein ingredients in Latin America with a 100 indexed base for 2016. So you can see it has been growing steadily, 44% growth in those last 5 years. And you can see some examples of products that show plant protein claims. So here we can see that before many times it was imported products, but we've seen last year that local produced products have been growing. So here, what are we tracking? We're tracking plant protein, protein from plants, proteins from plants. You can see all the words or the groups of words that we've been tracking within this analysis. So here you can see that soy protein is still the most used protein, vegetable protein, soy protein. But as I explained you before, here is the growth the CAGR between 2016 and 2020. And what we see is that soy protein has got a big bubble. So it means there are a lot of soy protein launches. And it has a high penetration in the market, but it's not growing so much. And then here we separate soy protein, hydrolyzed vegetable protein, soy protein, hydrolysate. So you've got different types of soy protein. And you can see that they represent still a big part of the market. But then we've got those new proteins coming. There are some proteins where the manufacturer doesn't specify which type of protein it is. So vegetable protein, we don't know exactly which type of vegetable protein it is. But then we've got the pea protein, that is the big hero of this last month, that is growing a lot. You can see here that it's growing at around a 50% rate. And then we've got other emerging vegetable proteins, also like lentil protein, chickpea protein, that are also arriving on the market. So here we've got some examples of products with different types of vegetable proteins, like those patties with lentils and vegetables, then this nut burger with pea protein, and then also this lentil burger from Ecuador. So here we're comparing the consumer perception that we saw before on the reasons why he would consider a plant-based alternative in Latin America versus the reasons that would keep him from buying plant-based alternatives. So here you can see that the top negative point for these products is the price value for money of those products, because in general, those products are more expensive. Then the poor taste and texture of these products. At the beginning, it was like, it happens like what happened with the gluten-free products. Many of those products were not really tasty. So we've made a lot of improvements on this side, but that's still something that the consumer is worried about. So we're developing tastier products, but the consumer still thinks that many of those products might have a poor taste. Then the other point that we had been talking about is too processed. So this consumer perception that there's a lot of processing behind those plant-based alternatives, and they're not so natural. And then the health concerns, the poor nutritional value, ingredient quality of those products. So here you've got the pros, and the cons of the plant-based alternatives for the consumers. So there's a market that we can see that could be very successful. That is to make a mix of plants and animals products, and to make this combination to offer the consumer a plant-based product, but mixed with dairy or a meat source. So here you can see this product that is Protein Max protein yogurt drink with strawberry flavor. Then a product that is only with pure and fresh goat milk. And then here a product that is only non-dairy yogurt alternative made with almond. So here we've got skimmed milk with soy protein. And what we can see from the surveys we carry on is that it's more interesting for the consumers to have this kind of product. The market is bigger than for only plant-based products or only animal-sourced products, because it enters into this trend of reducing the intake of dairy and meat products. So those hybrid innovations, many companies are working on them. We can see many companies trying to include some vegetables, fruits, herbs into their offerings. So here you've got an example, for instance, of prunes being included in chicken medallions in Colombia. And the California Prune Board is flagging prunes as a viable inclusion for manufacturers looking for high-quality plant-based ingredients without compromising on the taste or texture of a meat-plant hybrid product. But then you've got also all those consumers, we call it the adventurous consumers, that are looking for new eating experiences, new flavors, that are working, that are looking for a travel by eating something new. And this has also increased with the COVID, what we were seeing, that consumers are looking for more novelty in their diet. So there's a lot of opportunity to mix specific ingredients, to fuse categories, and creating food and beverages that are innovative. So here you can see on the left side the pork and plant-based mild Italian sausage. That's an example from Canada. But then there's also a market that is quite untapped still, that is the children's market, and where parents are looking into giving them more plant-based ingredients. So you've got this nice example in Argentina that are sausages clearly focused on the kids market, that are sausages with spinach and with carrots. And that's also interesting to analyze which vegetables are being included. And spinach, carrots, mushrooms are some of those vegetables that are being mixed in those hybrid products. So the last category that is being added into those plant-based products are the fish alternatives. So at Innova, we update our categories from time to time to follow the market evolution. So this one is one of the last ones. Nestle launched also a Nestle Garden Gourmet tuna alternative. So this is interesting that, for instance, in Brazil, the new fish also launched those products. And then what I was telling you about is that it's interesting. We've got a lot of superfoods in Latin America of local ingredients that could be used in order to offer these plant-based alternatives to local consumers. So they would feel more comfortable buying them because they would know the ingredients as they're local. So this is another example from Brazil, where they're also looking in search of alternative plant proteins, but from the Brazilian biodiversity. So another example of a Mexican company that is offering meat substitute alternatives and how they're making their offering evolving through the years, because they've been on the market now for 2 or 3 years. So you can see the first product that is a no chicken seitan tenders that was done with wheat protein. Those products have been repacked with new packagings and reformulated, but I wanted to show you a bit which proteins they were using, different types of proteins, different types of packagings, because we're also going to speak about this, about the packaging design of the products. Then this product that is a ground meat, a vegan plant-based ground meat. So it's made with broad bean and pea protein. Then you've got these burgers that are made with beans, so cooked beans and refried beans. And then their last addition to their range of products is the without fish bars that are made with broad bean, pea protein, and wheat protein. So one also of these new categories that is entering also Mexico, as we were seeing for Brazil. So a summary, we know that consumers are worried about their health, about the variety of their diets and the sustainability. So these plant-based products offer them a very good option. Plant-based innovation continues to diversify and is spreading worldwide in countries where we didn't have those offerings before. After price, taste, and to processed, what we saw are the cons for Latin America. We can see an opportunity for hybrids, blends of plant-based and animal protein products. And then in plant protein, we can see that there's a lot of research done. So technology can unlock opportunities, creating ultra-sustainable protein options, and consumer interest in decreasing its consumption of animal protein is not just impacting the meat market, but also formulations in other types of products, like, for instance, the products that have got eggs, where we're seeing a great increase of egg substitutes also. So in general, plant proteins are gaining space and are generating new opportunities. Now, we're going to give a brief overview of the packaging used in plant-based products. So here you can see in general in Latin America, as it's still a market where dairy alternatives are the biggest part of the plant-based products launched, we can see that Tetra is the top type of packaging used, then plastic, and then carton. And we can see that carton has grown a lot from 2019 to 2020, and then different types of plastics. And what we can see is that obviously there's a lot of research in the packaging industry into offering new options to the consumer, options with better design, with less plastic, with a better recyclability, with new materials, with bio-based materials. And as the plant-based consumer is in general a conscious consumer, that's also an area where we can offer more sustainable packagings. So here you can see this cheese alternative, cheese slice alternative, and this sandwich topping is good for you and for the environment. So they appeal to the conscious part of the consumer, and then it's a package that is made from 30% recycled plastic and 18% less plastic. We see that in cheeses and deli meats, the fact of reducing plastic is one of the main factors that is being used to make packaging more sustainable packaging. And then you've got the environmental part of this product here. So some examples of those packaging materials that are used in plant-based alternatives. So here you can see a Tetra, recyclable pack, 88% plant-based packaging, less 20% less CO2 used, made from sugarcane. Then this deli meat alternative, 70% recycled material, and then you've got this cardboard ice cream, organic ice cream that is with biodegradable packaging. And so there's this dispute between the dairy industry in many cases and the non-dairy industry, the companies that are offering these alternatives. And here is just an example of that focused on the packaging topic, because in the EU, they're discussing the fact of the plant-based dairy alternatives offering the same kind of packaging as dairy products. So there's this discussion. So this in its most restrictive interpretation, AM 171 could even prohibit plant-based products using the same packaging formats as dairy competitors. So there's this really innovative brand, Oatly, that took to Instagram a marketing campaign in order to demonstrate that this is a real inconvenience for the consumer. And so they published some videos and some ads where company employees are seen struggling to consume their oat drink through balloons, spray bottles, soap dispensers, and other unusual formats. So this is a discussion that is being carried on in many countries, also about the name of those products. Should it be called milk alternative or not? Should it come in a milk packaging or not? So it's being discussed. And here we can see that also a lot of companies are researching to offer those new materials to consumers, and how those new materials could be applied also to the plant-based products. So here you can see, for instance, 100% recyclable plant-based and high-performance polymer that could be used in plant-based products. And then here you get this new material with quite a difficult name to say. And it's also 100 plant-based product. And it would give an alternative to plastic packagings. And as regulation is increasing in many countries not to offer any more plastic packagings, also mainly for deliveries, so this could be a good option. So here are the key takeaways from this webinar. So what we saw is that the plant-based definition is evolving. We saw it as it began to grow in some categories, then the revolution of the plant-based trend, consumers looking for more clarity on what they were consuming, and now this inclusion into all the products where it's possible to offer a more healthy, more sustainable, and also cruelty-free product to the consumer. Also today, we spoke a bit about that, but many of the trends are interconnected. So if we are working into offering plant-based products to the consumers, we've got to be clear in our communication and also to inform very well the consumers. So this is all about transparency. That is also one of the top trends of Innova. And we can see that Latin America is a market that has a lot of potential for plant-based products, that some categories are already in a mature market, like dairy alternative drinks, mainly occupied by large multinational companies, but there's still space for other type of companies. We can see that we had very traditional flavors, for instance, and now we're beginning to offer new fruit flavors and trending flavors like the ones that we saw from Nature's Heart. And then plant protein. So consumers are looking for healthier diets. They're looking to reduce their animal protein intake. So there's a large opportunity here. And also we've got to be watching out for new types of proteins, like new vegetable proteins, like the one I was telling you about. Obviously, pea protein is one that is really well known right now. It's emerging in Latin America, and many companies are beginning to use it. But then there are other type of vegetable proteins that are coming, and there's also an opportunity for those hybrid products that blend plant protein and animal protein, because they can serve a bigger market. Mm-hmm. And then about packaging, well, there's a lot of research being done. There's a consumer that is really conscious about environmental issues. So there's also the opportunity to offer them more sustainable and recyclable packagings. And I think that's it for today. I hope you found all the information interesting. If you've got some questions, obviously we are going to have a Q&A session now. But then you can also contact me through my email that is here.
Thank you, Christine, for this incredible presentation and information that you shared with us. I will now read some of the questions that have been coming into our chat. First one is Edna Martinez. She asks, I am seeing more, okay, hi Christine, I have a question, because I am seeing more products plant-based, but with a low content of real nutrient benefits. How can we manage this trend to maintain the confidence of the market and the sustainable purpose? I think that's a question that most people are asking today, and it's actually if plant-based products do provide enough protein and nutritional requirements. I think that's one of the things that most people, consumers, kind of tend or prevent them from buying plant-based products.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that we spoke a bit about that during the presentation. First, companies began to develop new products, but they were not so focused on the nutritional value of the product. But then last year, as we were seeing the top trends, consumers began to ask about how are those products made? Are they really good for my health? And then we could see that people that were not so much worried about that were like the real vegan people, because they were looking for real vegan products. And sometimes they were not so worried about the nutritional value of the product. But then this began to change because more and more consumers that were not real vegans or real vegetarians began to be interested in those products. So they're looking for a substitute that could give them the same nutritional values as meat or dairy could give them. So I think that's why there's so many research made in the alternative protein space, that companies are looking into those alternative proteins and which type of protein it is, and also into more technical matters like the absorption, for instance, of the proteins. Because I'm not an engineer, so I couldn't go into more detail about that. But what I've seen is that companies are beginning to work, obviously, on the level of protein of those products, because many times it's about protein, and also about the grade of absorption of those proteins. How are they absorbed by our body, and are they really good for our body? So companies are now like searching for new proteins. For instance, last time I had a client that was beginning to sell tomato protein, because they've done research and they began to extract tomato protein because that's a good protein. So there's a lot of research done, and you've got many options on the market and new options coming in order to make your products more nutritive.
That's great. I have two other questions that kind of relate to this topic, and it's the fact that in talking about clean label, most of the ingredients are unrecognizable, are known ingredients, and that has been a problem or one of the issues that the industry is facing. So I don't know if you have anything or how is the industry working around this? Because what she mentions in this question is the problem that plant-based foods are facing is that people don't understand the ingredients that are on the label. So maybe if you could tell us a little bit how they're working around this, or the industry is solving this problem.
Yes, well, yes, we've also seen an evolution of the clean label trend. So for us, some years ago, it was just about organic, natural, non-additives, non-preservatives, and GMO-free. And just the first trend of Innova this year is about transparency. And what it means that consumers are adding new parameters to the clean label trend. So it's also about not processed, about the origin of the ingredients. Many other parameters are coming. So this is about clean label. Then about the ingredients, there is this trend that is about made with real ingredients, made with recognizable ingredients. But I cannot show it to you right now, but if we look at some Latin American products that are plant-based, all the ingredients are recognizable. Because some of the products that we've gone through during the presentation, they've got beans or refried beans, they've got pea, they've got amaranth, and they've got beetroot, they've got vegetables. So many plant-based products do have a clear ingredient list. There's the topic about the taste and texture of the products. Because I feel that when all those ingredients are recognizable and really clear to the consumer, sometimes there's something about texture missing for the consumer and taste. But if we had a look, we could see that many products, plant-based products, are really well formulated for this kind of consumer that is worried about the clean label and the recognizable ingredients.
Thank you, Christine. Okay, we have another question. It says, what are the recent plant-based proteins that you see in Colombian market? How should local food processors prepare for these new consumer tendencies? Yeah.
Okay. I don't have now the information just about the Colombian market, and if this person can email me, we can make a specific analysis. But one of the vegetable proteins that is growing mainly in Latin America is pea protein, as we saw in the chart I presented you. So there are a lot of new vegetable proteins emerging, but they're really very small still in the Latin American market. So what we were seeing about lentil protein, chickpea protein, fava bean protein, those proteins are also beginning to emerge, but the one after soya that is really growing in Latin America is the pea protein.
Thank you, Christine. Yes, I will share your information in the chat because we do have some specific questions on the Colombian market. So please do contact Christine for further information on this. I think I have one other question, and it says, can you tell us about the industry's cannabis and plant-based foods? Like, is there a trend in adding cannabis in foods?
Yes, well, there's a trend in cannabis or CBD products that is growing, but we haven't tracked it still in plant-based products. So for the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen growing interest from many manufacturers of including CBD or cannabis in some categories. But at the beginning, the 2 top categories for CBD inclusions were drinks, soft drinks or alcoholic drinks, and then also confectionery with gummies or supplement-like gummies. So those were the 2 top categories. So for plant-based products, I should look into the database, but so far from all the reports I've read, I don't see a clear connection between plant-based trend and CBD offerings. But obviously CBD is growing. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Christine, I know that's a big trend now in Colombia and in Latin America. So we have several questions regarding that. So we would please also contact Christine for further information. Okay, I think I have another one because most people are asking for your presentation. So I will share Christine's presentation at the end. We will email it so you guys have it and have this information. I have another one from Alejandro Basso. He mentions most of the soya in Latin America is GMO. How industry deals with the last ingredient source. I'm not sure if I understand the question.
No.
I think they're talking about the soya ingredient just in general. Maybe if you can tell us if that's growing in Latin America.
Okay. So what we saw also from the chart I presented you is that soy protein is still one of the mostly used vegetable proteins in Latin America. But it's not growing anymore. It means that all the new vegetable proteins that are coming have got a CAGR that is really, really above soy protein. But there's many types of soy protein, as we saw, like hydrolyzed, concentrated, that are still used. But from something I saw last week with a client, we were analyzing their alternatives in Latin America. And for the first time, almond drinks were just arriving to the level of soya drinks. So it showed us clearly this trend that soy is still the mostly used, but that all the other vegetable proteins are just trying to reach it because soy doesn't have such a good perception with the consumers.
Okay, Christine, I think the other questions have been more, and I think you've already answered them about the trends in Latin America. So I think we can end this session today. We will please contact, because most of you have asked about regulations also, and we would like you to contact Christine. She will give you further information on that. We will also share the presentation, and please visit our trade show, Andina Pack. We have Innova Market Insights also as a guest speaker in our summit and our ingredients panel. So probably we will have this topic again being covered about plant-based foods. You can also find packaging solutions for those who produce or manufacture plant-based products. So we would invite you to come to our show, also to see this recording on this webinar, as well as other ones that we have already planned for next month, please visit the agenda. It's also posted in our webpage. So thank you, Christine. We
Thank you.
enjoyed, and it's a privilege to have you as our guest speaker today. And thank you all for connecting on today's webinar. We hope to see you soon. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you, Alexandra. Bye.
Ciao. Thank you all. Have a good day.